as the podcast develops throughout the hour. But Václav Černý checks in, Kerr, as Rangers finally make a right winger signing. But do you think this means as well this will kill any chances of Rangers going after Sima?
I don't know. It depends on who the manager wants, who Cotton wants. Listen, it's been a great signing for us. It's somebody we will link me. And it's one of these things I really like. When we link with somebody, we go and get them. It doesn't drag on for months and months and months, then never happens. We were linked with the boy a few days ago, and now he's here. And that's what we like to see. We just like to link with somebody in the door quick as possible. And listen, I'm looking forward to him because he's a type of player we need. He's the type of player we've been missing. And a lot of the fans will probably be saying, we've had a right winger since Candia. So listen, I'm happy he's here. And I hope he can perform because that's all we want. With somebody in the park who can perform. And if you look at him, I've only watched his videos earlier on, but he's left-footed, right-footed. He can go through the middle. He can make late runs into the box. He takes set pieces. He can head and he can score. And that's what you want. Somebody who's attack-minded.
JD, if I take that point that Kerr makes that we've lacked a attacking-minded right winger, someone who could come in the inside, go on the outside, and maybe take the pressure off whoever our right back is, because far too much pressure in recent years has fell on the right back to create all the chances down that side. But touching on the last point I made first, do you think this means that any chances of Sima coming in are slim to nothing?
We've not heard a word. Not really, have we? I mean, it was one we were kind of expecting would happen, but see, to be honest, I think we might be out. I don't know if we could afford to get Sima, to be honest. I mean, it made me laugh here. I'm not sure we could get him full time. I don't know what they're looking for. What are they wanting? 5-6 million, maybe? Are we going to cough up that money unless we get some players out and bring in some decent money? But I'm stuck on Sima. I was not a massive Sima fan, albeit he was probably best of a bad bunch. So again, are you going to pay 5 or 6 million to stay where you were? It's probably just no going any forward from where you were last year. I'm not sure. I'd take him 100%, but I think it's maybe dead in the water.
Dead in the water for Sima, Ricky, but obviously we have made a positive signing in Václav Černý, a guy who has scored 83 goals in 261 career appearances. So a winger who can chip in with goals, who's composed in front of goal, and as me and Kerr touched on during the week, that's what a lot of our attacking-minded players seem to lack, that composure in front of goal. So it has to be a positive going forward.
Definitely. He scored 5 last season for Wolfsburg. And what I was reading about him today, he likes to come in off the left and cut inside. He linked up with Danilo before. They two worked really well together and they scored a lot of goals and worked well in tandem. So compared to what we have in the squad just now, this looks like a good signing, you know. He seems like he's fit and he's ready to go. So hopefully we see some of them at least 30 minutes tomorrow in the friendly. And for the squad, the players we've got in the squad just now, we need experience, and when this guy's got numbers, and I think he'll do all right for us, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing, Kerr. He's got the numbers, he's got the track pedigree. He did make an appearance at the Euros. I think he's got 7 goals in 17 appearances for the Czech Republic at international level. Easy for me to say after a couple of years. But he obviously has a pedigree that we've lacked in terms of our signings so far this summer. If you look at, obviously, Igamani and Nsiala kind of development signings, it doesn't look like we've done the hard yards in terms of getting the players in for key positions, other than obviously Barron and Diamande being permanent signings. But do you think this is just the start before Tynecastle next week? Are you expecting a few more bodies before then?
You're on mute, Kerr.
Yeah, like ours for me. No, you're hoping we can bring in another 1 or 2, don't you, before the Hearts game? Because we badly need them. But when they come in, will they start? I don't know, because obviously Clement's got to fit them into the side. But why shouldn't they start? Because at this moment in time, we're a mess. But we need other bodies in. We need more bodies. We need not just bodies, but we need people in who are better than what we've got. We can't just go out and sign A, B, and C, and they're not any better than what we've got. So we have to bring in guys who are going to improve us. And if you've watched the pre-season, you're probably saying to yourself, that's not going to be hard. But you're hoping maybe 2 come in before the Hearts game. We need them in because the 1st of August is also the deadline for the European squad names, so we need them in for that as well. But listen, that's one in, so I'm hoping there's another couple to follow. I've just seen on Twitter there that Lammer's holding the FC20 shirt, so he's away, so that's a good sign. All the best to him, by the way. It wasn't his fault, he didn't do well, it's just one of the things. All the best to Sam Lammers, but that's one out the door. Hopefully more followers out the door.
Well, this is the thing, JD, and Paul raises a good point here in regards to we think we need to get bodies out first. Now, the day there has been multiple rumours and a bit of breaking news there from Kerr that Lammers is away. So it looks like Goldson is away. We've also had the strange one where Cifuentes' loan deal was cut short in Brazil. And then he seems to be away as well with an obligation to buy for €5 million, which is crazy money if you ask me on the back of his performances that we've seen. And then the rumour that also broke today that Hadji seems to be in advanced talks with Fiorentina for a 2.1 million signing and a 10% sell-on clause for Rangers. Now, I don't know what you think, but that to me seems good business for all these guys.
I'm not buying the Cifuentes one. There's no way there's a 5 mil on that. We're lucky to get 2, 1.5 or something, but it is what it is. I think Paul's right there. We need. This is where everybody was a wee bit worried. Like we brought in a few bots like Inciala, Ingamani, and we're a bit like, where's my first team players? You couldn't get any. You couldn't bring in first team players until you get these boys out. Because see, if we couldn't get them out, they were going to be our first team players. Goldson would have been a first team player again if we never get him. He never get his move or whatever. So I think the next few days is going to be rapid. I wouldn't be surprised we see 3, 4 come in. I really don't. And somebody said that they're a striker. I want another striker. Dessers isn't the answer for me. You don't know what Daniel's going to be like. Was he even the answer last season when he played? He maybe needed time to settle in until he gets his injury. Igamani's he's already been touted as someone who's not ready to play, but perhaps we need one of these young boys that we've signed to come in and start. And I'm not talking about Barnes. He's going to be a starter, by the way. I'm talking maybe Inciala or Igamani making an impact this season because I don't think we're going to get the number. Maybe 4 in. I don't think we're going to get the 6 that we probably need.
And Ricky, if I could touch on Connor Goldson firstly, obviously he's been the vice captain of Rangers for the best part of 4 or 5 years. I think in terms of his performances up until he got his big injury in the Liverpool game in the Champions League a few seasons ago, in terms of consistency, I think he was a 7 out of 10 almost every week. Sometimes he was above that, but there has been an obvious drop-off since he come back from his injury. And we know what Rangers social media can be like in terms of it can be poisonous at certain times. But I think, speaking for all of us here on the podcast tonight, we certainly wish him well going forward and thank him for his service, but it's probably the right time to sell.
I totally agree. He has been a good servant, but big games against Celtic, he's sold some massive goals, you know. The Europa League final, he says it wasn't his fault for the goal, but a lot of fans beg to differ. And that for him in the big games seems to have become the norm in even the smaller games now. And he looks like he's lost a yard of pace, to be honest. And at the age he was at, paying him 37k a week, what Ross Wilson was doing, handing out some of these contracts, to be honest, you know. I mean, you see the job that we're having now to get rid of some of these players. Goldson goes with my best wishes, but how we gave him 37k a week when nobody else was interested in him when he was for free was absolutely shocking. And he's not the only one. I mean, even Lammers is taking a pay cut. Goldson's taking a pay cut to leave. Hadji's taking a pay cut. We're struggling to get rid of him. All these players that are leaving, the agents nobody can believe the wages that they're on. And I know that's not his fault, but Tav's exactly the same. The performances for the wages that they're getting paid they're always available, but the performances are not good enough for the money they're being paid, to be honest.
Hey, can I just jump in on that?
He goes with my best wishes, but it was time to move on for him, and it's time to move on for Tav, in my opinion, you know.
See the boys we attract, right? You're maybe fighting against, say it as a Fiorentina, say you're against a Fiorentina to sign somebody. For somebody to come and play, not with Rangers because we're a massive club, for somebody to come and play in Scotland, because people want to sign for Rangers, but to play in the dregs, a football, week in, week out, you need to dangle a carrot. So that's why we probably have to overpay players what they're worth to get them to come to the club. So that's probably you're struggling with that, and that's why we always struggle to get rid of players. What we need to get back to, and this is stating the obvious, we should have sold Goldson after 55 or Tav. When these boys' stocks high, sell them. We let contracts run out, or a guy like Goldson's going to go for like £1 million or something like that. But I would never have thought I thought we'd have got a good 3-4 for him. I thought about him going to maybe Birmingham in the League One. He's away. Where's he away? To Greece, Cyprus. Like, what is it? He's away to Cyprus. What a lifestyle! But I thought we'd have got a better move than that.
Well, that's the thing. We're sort of synonymous with bad business in terms of, how we structure deals financially, because we've got a track record over the last 3 years of having the highest wage budget in the league, but that hasn't won us the trophy care in the last 3 years, and that is a major question mark that lies at boardroom level. And I think at boardroom level, there's been so much turnover in the last 3 years. Everybody in the key positions have left, and we've had no consistency in terms of moving forward as a team, whether that be manager, director of football, or chairman. And it sadly let us down. And I think that's partly to blame, but really, first and foremost, all fans care about is getting it right on the park. So with Goldson leaving, it looks like Cifuentes, Lammers and Hadji are all away. Do you think that is good business for the club? And is there anybody else that you'd like to see go with them?
Can I just tell you players I want to stay? It'd be easier. No, to be honest with you, it's going to be difficult to move on. JD was spot on when you have to dangle a carrot in front of some of these guys that come to Scotland. It's not because it's Rangers, it's because it's Scotland and because of the league and stuff. So they might go elsewhere and get 25, 30, but when they come to Rangers, they might need a bit more just to persuade them. And it's not the players for a while. Listen, if somebody says to you, I've said to you before, Davey, if somebody says to you, here's 37 grand a week for 4 years, and then a year later they're like, we don't want you, it's not your concern, because you've signed that contract. It's up to them to move you somewhere else, or you to get somewhere else who can give you the same kind of money. Or maybe that's why the fees so low. Maybe we gave him a sweetener to leave. You don't know these things. Do you know what I mean? So maybe we've given him a sweetener and told him we've gave him some money to leave. Listen, Connor Goldson probably in his first 4 years at Rangers was probably one of the best defenders in the league. And he was your best defender. But it was after that. Mickey made a good point with saying that his legs kind of went. He did. You said it yourself, maybe because change of managers, the system changed, so he wasn't as comfortable in it. But we probably should have sold him at a time when we did, or let him go at a time when he was a free contract. But we don't know what offers he got, what offers he never. He came back 10 years, and at a time we were all happy with that. But look how it's turned out. But you can look at the players that we've had at the club that we've let go for free or they've walked away for nothing recently. It's no good business, and it has to change. Maybe we should be looking for a new CEO who actually knows what they're doing.
Well, I think that's a fair conversation, and possibly one that we'll have in greater detail at a later date. But JD, if I can touch on the squad at the moment, we play Hearts in the first league game 8 days away, which is a week tomorrow. And if you look at the squad as it sits currently, I couldn't pick the starting 11 for that game just now. And I'm hoping that there's more bodies that come in and strengthen that, because if I was to pick from the current squad, everybody that's signed at the moment, I think we're in for a tough time at Tynecastle.
Yeah, I was worried. I seen somebody say that the other day, yesterday on Twitter about like we could start day one of the league behind Celtic. I'm worried about it. I think we need our defence. We need another centre half in desperately. Like Goldson's been the main man in there, right? Listen, whether he was good or no, but he has been the kind of leader in there. So can Suter be trusted? I'm a big John Suter fan. I think he's really, really good, but he does get injured a lot, and he is prone to that wee mistake every now and again. Like most centre halves are. We need that centre half. I need another centre half. But you're talking about playing next week, so you're saying who's going to play? Suter and Enciala, Suter and Davies. Have we even seen Davies this summer? Is he even about? Like, he's another one we would want to try and offload. Barron and Diomande probably would be all right to play in there. But again, watching that Birmingham game from behind the couch, people are just going through us through the midfield. We need somebody probably in there with them or in front of them. Where the Hannibal one's not going to happen, but you probably need a guy like that. Somebody who's going to put themselves about or a bit of strength. I'm not saying they two don't, because they get different attributes, but are we ready for Hearts at time? Is it Tynecastle, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, nah, we're no. We could. That's 3 points right away.
Ricky, obviously JD makes a great point there, and what I think he's sort of saying, and I hope I'm not paraphrasing for JD because we know he can speak for himself, but there seems to be a distinct lack of physicality throughout the spine of the Rangers team. There's no big guys, there's nobody robust on the ball. We don't have a ball winner in the middle of the park. We don't have a centre half with recovery pace. These are all major concerns going into what is the first week of the season, but obviously the first month of the season with Champions League qualifiers and a trip to Parkhead. It seems like an astronomical challenge.
No, as pace, we're severely lacking pace in the team. Patterns, the movement is absolutely shocking. I think that's what the fans are most disappointed about. I mean, when I seen that team line up against Birmingham, and I heard the first two podcasts you guys were speaking about, and we were all excited to see some of these young players. And come on, you've got to show more than what they showed. The movement was terrible. The passing was terrible. There was no patterns of play. The Nigerian nightmare has become our nightmare because Dessers is just an absolute donkey of a striker. Like, we cannot start the season. All the players we need to sign, we need a striker before Tynecastle. Even if it's Shankland or not Shankland, I can't start saying Shankland, but Dessers up front, even if you have patterns of play and pace, his touch, and I mean, he done slower than my oil rig, to be honest. So we need to see a bit more than what we're seeing. Hopefully at the weekend, Clement starts a team that's closer to Tynecastle, because to be honest, his lineups have been a bit all over the place in pre-season. So hopefully we do see something and we start to at least see a style of play, because fans are getting very, very edgy with Clement, and the reason that they're getting very, very edgy is because all these experienced players have been getting the blame, but we're watching the players that are not experienced in pre-season and the players that are going to be staying, and we're not seeing anything. We're not seeing any patterns of play. We're not seeing any chances created, and anything we do create, Dessers either puts it over the bar or takes 2 hours to finish a chance. So it needs to be better at the weekend, and hopefully we get a few more in before Tynecastle.
Okay, Ricky makes a great point about the manager, and I think we should discuss it in depth and maybe split it into 2 parts. So the first one I want to bring up is his performance at the press conference after the match against Birmingham. Now, he's done his media duties there, and then he's come back in after the press conference, and it's like he's threw a grenade or a spanner in the works, and Cantwell flung under the bus again. Whether that be good or bad, we don't know. Indifferent. It's maybe just a personality clash or whatever. But what we know at the end of that conversation is, if Philip Clement continues to be the Rangers manager, Todd Cantwell doesn't have a future at Rangers. So what's your take on that? Firstly, on Cantwell, but then also on the manager and how he conducted himself at that press conference.
Listen, Dave, I was a big fan of Cantwell when he came through the door. The boy's got an ability. He's technically very good, and we can see what he can do when he's on his game. He flatters to deceive at times. He does hide, and he goes in a huff. And listen, some players do this, but he's not good enough to do that and get away with it. And I think he doesn't like criticism. But I think when Clement came in the door, he picked on him straight away. You seen it when he took him off very, very early. And we all thought, that's great to see. Hopefully he does it with others, but he never. He just seemed to pick on Todd Cantwell, and that was it. It was Todd Cantwell and nobody else. Now, listen, I think Todd probably needs a new challenge, as he puts it himself. And I think having the manager are never going to see eye to eye. So I think probably the best is Todd goes away, we get a bit of money and we move on. But I think, Clement, listen, see, when he came through the door, I was happy. And I was happy last season to a point. But he got to the end of last season with some of his press conferences. He was still going about when he came in, he had to change this, he had to change that. He was still blaming Beale, he was still blaming other stuff. But at the start of the season, we've not seen anything different. We're still looking for a pattern of play, we're still looking for a structure. We don't really see it. And I thought after, I think it was a Birmingham game, a United game, he kind of said about the players not following his instructions. But he's a manager. If they don't follow his instructions, then there's a problem, because they're not all bad players. And if they've had instructions and no following them, whose fault is it? It can't all be the player's fault all the time. Some of the blame has to go to him. Now I'm not sitting here saying sack him because I think we've sacked too many managers. But it's all, I'm not going to also say don't sack him because if he's not good enough, we're going to have to. But I think there's question marks about the manager. I think if he gets guys in he wants and things don't change, then the fans won't be happy because at the end of the day we want to win, and that's what they pay money for. And if he's not doing the job, then we're going to have to look at something else. But I don't see nothing, Davey, for the team this season. I know it's pre-season. I'm not a big fan of pre-season. I only went to United game because it was United, so I don't really go to games because I think it's just getting the fitness in the legs. But you seen against Birmingham City, they spent a bit of cash, right enough, but still, they walked through us and they looked a lot fitter, they looked a lot sharper, and they looked like they had a bit of fight. We didn't show any things at all. We didn't show nothing against Birmingham City at all. And in the second half, we showed a wee bit, but the game was kind of over, and Birmingham City had made changes, and it was the same against United as well when they brought on their academy players. We showed nothing. So I'm looking for something tomorrow, but I don't know. I think there's more questions to Bassa come on than there is no, because I think I don't know, I'm just getting funny vibes, which I don't like, and I'm not going to sit here and say sack him, but as I've seen that story too many times before, David.
JD, we'll obviously come into greater discussion about the tactical elements of the side and how we're playing under Clement, but for somebody that's been in the job best part of a year almost, to conduct yourself like that at a pre-season press conference, that's a little bit alarming going into the season just being a few days away.
He's probably all seen it on Twitter. Somebody said it was like your old uncle leaving your house at Christmas and running back in to jump onto the karaoke. Like, that's what it was like. It was weird, really weird. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, Davey. I'm not sure. Like, it made me feel a bit uncomfortable. Like, I get what he's saying. It's like he walked out and somebody said to him, "Bye, we can tell him about Todd," or "You forgot about Todd." "Oh, I'll run back in and tell them." No, just leave it. By the way, I didn't see lots of folk asking about Todd. Everybody was more bored about him or his antics on Instagram. So I don't know. I'm a bit like Kerr. We spoke about it earlier on the day. I'm a bit like Kerr about Clement. We need to stick by him. What I want to see for him, though, is an identity. Like, look at Birmingham. Birmingham had an identity and they passed the ball on us. So I'm a bit worried. Can I ask Kerr a question, Kerr? Somebody tell me you were on the Man United end at Murrayfield.
No, listen, it was an Rangers end.
You'd half and half, didn't you?
I don't like the half and half stuff, JD. Unless it's a Jack Daniels and Coke.
Well, we might need a few Jack Daniels and Coke to get us through the season, in all honesty, lads, the way it's looking at the moment. But if we take JD's point, Ricky, about we don't know where we're looking tactically at the moment, we don't have a style, a shape about us, and that's both on and off the ball. And I think at the moment, off the ball is just as worrying, because you see how we're set up for set pieces. We're far too powder puff. That was a major concern last season, the amount of goals that we lost, and the goal that we lost against Birmingham is as cheap as they come, the first one. So how do we address that? If we're not working on it in the training field, what are we actually doing? Because there seems to be massive problems there that haven't been addressed so far in pre-season.
Yeah, no, the press is all wrong to start with. We're not pressing as a team. You can see that a mile away. When Clement came in and everything was going well, he was mixing it up. We were playing some football, and then the odd time you would get a long ball from Goldson, you would get a long ball from Suter, and then Seymour would get on the end of it. Well, it seems like now we've turned into a long ball team that can't press. It's the same. You're watching. We lose the same goals. How will we lose the same goals? Every single time we have a set piece. He said in a press conference he didn't need a set piece coach. And every single time we ever have a set piece against us, the defence is all over the place. We don't know if we're zonal marking, picking up players. There's nobody on the post. Then when it comes to our corner kicks, when was the last time we scored from a corner kick? It's dreadful at both ends. And there's so many things that need to improve before the season starts. And to be honest, with Clement, it's very, very simple. Like Rangers fans have got a very, very, very short fuse, and they're not known to give people time. If we get rid of all these players and we bring in these new players, if we see a style of play and we get a few results, then fans will back him. But if the football's super turgid and he's turning up like a mad uncle at press conferences going on about we've got more points than Celtic and all that sort of garbage he was going on about last season, then fans will turn very, very quick. And it doesn't matter whether it's Clement or whoever comes in. We need to see a style of play. We need to see the team pressing a lot better. We need to see us better at set pieces. And we need to see a bit more pace and a bit more strength in the team, which hopefully we'll see with the new signings, because just now it is absolute miles away from being good enough, you know.
No, I take that point, Ricky. And Kerr, obviously, if the guys are late in joining the chat, Kerr did break the story that Sam Lammers had signed for 20 on the podcast as we were on. But I think if you look at going into the season, as we've said many times, we play Hearts a week on Saturday. What are the key positions that need strengthened? GD mentioned centre-half, but in midfield, I'm not sure how we want to play, because it looks like Clement wants Ridley on the number 10s. So we're going to go back to the Gerrard formation where you've got a sitting 6 and sort of 2 number 8s in the midfield and be a bit rigid and play high and wide going forward. I just don't know, because we haven't seen the style of play as yet under Clement, but you can also put the argument forward, if you're playing devil's advocate, saying we haven't had the players to play his style. I think it's a major concern that Danilo looks miles off of fitness. If Tav's going to be the right back, or whether he's got to be here or no, he looks a mile off of fitness. Dujon Sterling, to me, looks better off the ball than he does on the ball. So do you want him a bit deeper to allow Ridvan to be that wee bit higher? Because I think we're all under the consensus that Ridvan should be the starting left back. So how do you see it working out? Is that the key balance, the sort of central defence and central midfield going forward? Again, obviously, we still need a recognised number 9 as well.
I think there's a lot of positions, David. We have to get his spine right first. If we don't get his spine right, then the rest of it's not going to work. So we have to get his spine right. And I've said a few times, we need a centre-back who can defend, who can win the ball in there and just defend. I don't care if he can pass the ball 50 yards, diagonals, whatever. We just need somebody who's tough, who's physical. He can get up in the head of the ball and who can defend. End of story. The other person next to him can do the rest of it, because you've not had that for ages. We're too weak at the back. We get physically no good enough. We get bullied at times. We get bullied quite a lot, and I would prefer if we brought in a number 6 as well. I like Connor Barron. I think he's going to be a very good signing. But he's got energy, he's got legs, he can get back and forth. But we need somebody sitting, dictating. We've not had that for a while, and we all know we need a striker. And everybody knows we need a striker. The manager must know that as well, because Danilo, he done okay last season until he got his injury. But since he's come back, he does look very short in fitness. I don't think he'll start. Dessers is Dessers. You're not going to get anywhere out of Dessers. He will score you goals, but he'll miss more. But it's his work off the ball I don't like. I don't like when he sits in his arse because he's lost it, or when he moans at the others because he's passed it away and he's moaning. He's seen it with Diamandi. He's been moaning at him, and so we need somebody else off the ball. But it's going to be hard. I think, listen, Tynecastle's always been a good hunting ground for us at times, because we've always seemed to play well there. And listen, Hearts are a decent side. I'm not going to say they aren't, but we shouldn't go there and fear them because they're a decent side. We've been there before and won. But these players have to start showing something if they want to be at Ibrox. They want to be a Rangers player. And we're not getting it for a lot of them. And listen, we all know there's guys going to leave like Tav and Hadji and stuff. Until they go, they're still Rangers players. But he's going to have to trust the guys who's not going to leave and say, listen, if you want this shot, show me you deserve it. But I don't think he's doing that. I think he keeps getting back to the tried and tested. Listen, nothing against Birmingham. Scott Wright was probably our best player when he came on.
I know.
But Scott Wright's not a guy we can trust. And it's no disrespect to Scott Wright. Scott Wright's a decent footballer, but he's not a starting player for Rangers. And every manager who we've had seems to trust him. But we tried to sell him 3 times. I mean, he's still here. So it's a kind of mixed box. Scott Wright doesn't know where he's going himself. But so we need to buy. Will we buy before the Hearts game? We might bring a couple in. But I think we're looking to the end of August to bring more in. And by that time, like GD said, we could be 3-6 points behind them. And if that's the case, he will be under massive pressure. But as Ricky said, if you see progression, if you see something happening when they're playing, you think, this is actually looking okay here. We will back him. But if we don't see it, fans are fickle, but we all are. Because all we want is results. Walter Smith always says 2 defeats for a crisis, and that's it.
I think as well, Kerr, see if we go to Tynecastle, and I like Big Balogun, by the way, and I think he probably deserved that, but no for a starter. Scott Wright can do stuff when he comes on, right? But I wouldn't even have him on the bench. He's a squad player. But if we go to Tynecastle and Scott Wright starts and Balogun starts, boys who were there when Gerrard was here, we've got a few problems, I think.
JD, just touching on that then, there's a lot of speculation in regards to Lawrence Shankland and what the recognised fee would be. I don't like to comment on speculation too much, but do you think there's truth in the rumour that he is a guy that we're looking at? And I asked Kerr during the week what you think the right price is, but what do you think the right price is for Lawrence Shankland?
Davey, you're hosting a podcast. You're going to need to do better with speculation, mate. I think I would just give him the 3 million. I know it's high for a 30-year-old, but honestly, like, he's not, for me, Shankland's not a great all-round player, right? But see if Shankland played for us last year, I firmly believe they would have scored 35 to 40 goals, because Dessers could have got that. If he missed half the chances that Dessers missed, he would have scored about 40. So I would just do it. For me, if I had a choice, somebody's just mentioned Miovski, I'd take Miovski before Shankland. I think you're talking probably 5 million the Sheep might want for him, so that's probably prices him out, and he might go somewhere else, but I would probably do 3 million for Shankland. I would take him in Mora, and I think they will not sell him to us before next week, and they might sell to him after it, but they'll no do it before the game.
So what's your take on it, Ricky? If it's a case of Shankland being our number one striker going forward, is it a deal that you would make a priority?
100%. Shankland or Dessers, for me, absolute no-brainer. But the problem is, I saw Naismith getting interviewed the other day, and the guy is an absolute cuckoo land. Shankland is the only player that Hearts are saying has not lost any value when he's went into the last year of his contract. They want 4 or 5 million for him. Now, fair enough, if Rangers put 3 million on the table and Shankland makes noise, then hopefully we're able to get a deal done. But I know that Hearts are looking still for 4 or 5 million, which is just ridiculous. I would never go to 4 or 5 million for him with 12 months left of his contract. But 3 million, with the predicament we're in just now, I would offer 3 million, and I think that Shankland would probably push for the move. I agree with JD, it's never going to happen before the game next weekend, but hopefully after that, we're able to get a deal done for sure. And also, I would hope, just last point, I would hope that we've got other targets in mind. I would hope that we're not only putting all our eggs in the Shankland basket, because Scottish teams are very, very difficult to deal with, and hopefully we've got some other options, whereas if the Shankland deal doesn't move fast, then we can move fast for another striker.
There does always seem to be a snobbery about us when it comes to the league. And I hark back to the Advocat era, and when he was having a problem in front of goal when Michael Moles got that injury by Munich, the first place he looked was to take Billy Dodds for Dundee United, and Billy Dodds gave us a good 18 months. And I think that is something that we need to address going forward. We have to look at the talent within our own league. There is plenty of youngsters to look at, but there's also squad players, fillers like in years gone by where you had your Alex Clellens through the Walter Smith era, even Kurt Broadfoot when Walter Smith came back again. There's always been a sort of consistency in terms of buying in for the Scottish League care. What's your take on that? Is that something that we need to address under Niles Copping going forward?
I just think we need to bring someone in who's a goal scorer. It doesn't really matter where he comes from, where he plays. We just have to look at somebody. I know all this talk about Shankland's going on for a while, so to me it's been on far too long. I don't think we'll go for Shankland. I personally don't. But see this thing about Hearts saying he's worth this, he's worth that. Listen, he could be worth £10 million to Hearts. We've not got to say what he's worth, because at the end of the day, he could be a difference for Hearts finishing third and making the Europa League next season. Or maybe even finishing second, you never know. But he could be that difference. So if they sell him for £3 million and finish fifth, we wouldn't be happy. So see if he's my player, I would say exactly the same. I would say, if you want him, pay crazy money because I want him to stay here. He might walk away, but he might get us to finish second or third, and we can get back into Europe and make some more money for that. So they've got a right to say what they want about Shankland, even though a lot of people don't think he's worth that. But I just think we need to go for somebody. It doesn't matter where he's from. We just need to get a striker. I don't know what type of striker. Obviously, somebody that scores goals, but we need somebody that's more mobile. We need somebody that's quick and somebody that needs a game well. But they cost money, Davey. Every team in the world looks for a good striker, and we're working in a budget or a bracket of players where there's a lot of players there, but there's a lot of teams in for this level of player because where we are, we can't go for a player who's ready hit their peak. We have to go for guys a bit younger than that unless we get them for Scotland. And going for Scotland, you know yourself, there's always more money added on because we're going for guys because everybody thinks we've got a bit of money to spend. But I don't know where we go, but we need to bring some in because Dessers, Danilo and Igmani's not going to be the three that's going to take us anywhere this season. Listen, Danilo might because he is coming back from injury. We know what Dessers is like. I still feel he will go. So if he does go, I think we might have somebody else lined up.
Davey, can I just say, I think the reason Shankland's a Rangers fan, everybody knows that, right? And he's no mobile, by the way, but he can finish. And I think that the only reason Shankland's name is getting mentioned is that although it's 3 million, domestically it's kind of low risk. I think I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed, but you're kind of guaranteed goals with him. So by going for Shankland, you know that you're getting domestically somebody who should come in and score 30 goals for you. And I think that's probably why his name keeps getting mentioned. By the way, I don't think Clement fancies him. I don't think he does. And I don't know why I get that feel. I just don't think he does. Now, I don't know why, because if you put him up against Dessers, it's night and day. Although they are similar in their body type and the kind of their movement. Although Shankland's a head and shoulders of one, but I think maybe it's just a 3 million if we can get him. You're guaranteed. It's a low risk buy for 3 million. Really, you could go 3 million for somebody abroad who could be God, we've had thousands of them. You can name Reimer. 5 or 6 of them after just don't score goals for you, so it's low risk.
I would take Shankland tomorrow if he was going to sign, but I just feel this rumour's been growing. It's like the Alan Smith rumour, John Eustace rumour. They've still no signed for us. Do you know what I mean?
John Eustace. Aye.
Ricky, see if we can round it off though. Have we as a club lost our Scottish identity in terms of homegrown players?
The problem is we're bringing players through the academy and they're not good. They're not good enough. The academy is an absolute shambles. You could do a podcast about the academy on its own. We're giving these guys a chance through the week and they're half asleep. We right now our academy is producing Scottish players for Airdrie and Ayr United. So we're having to try and sign players, which a few years ago you were able to get them in, no problem. You were able to get them in for $1 million, $2 million here. But now clubs are wanting 3, 4 million. If you go and sign, say, Wen and Miller from Motherwell, then you're looking at 3, 4 million for a player like that. And he's a great young talent and he's worth it. But it's not as easy as it was back in the day just to snap up the best of the talent from the other teams. We all want us to sign Scottish players. We've brought in Barron, which was a good start. We've brought in Kelly, and we would like to see 2 or 3 more. But the teams that are selling them, they're going to charge us for them. So you need to pay the money, like Kerr said. If Motherwell want to sell us Miller, they're going to say 3, 4 million. So are we going to pay that for the type of talent that we need?
JD, one thing I want to touch on that I think hasn't been touched on enough during the summer. A couple of weeks ago on the Rangers Review, Chris Jack broke the story that James Tavernier was to be stripped to the captaincy going forward. And since that point, it's been very mooted, to say the least. No much talk about it at all. And the club has been, conspicuous by its absence in terms of silence since then. Do you think going forward into this season, one, if James Tavernier remains, then he must be stripped of the captaincy? And 2, who do you think the guy is to lead us going forward?
I don't know. If that's a truth, well, it's going to be as close to truth as possible from any sort of media outlet when it comes to Chris Jack on the Rangers Review, right? So it's basically 99% true. Now, I happened to Amoruso and he came back for it, but with the way the fans are with Tav, I'm not sure he could come back for it. And he's not going to sell. I know he scores goals and sets up, but it's just no. If it happens, then I think it's probably going to go to Butland, isn't it? Probably the only person, unless somebody like, I don't know, is Balogun going to be our first choice centre half? Would he take Aaron Band? We're a bit of a mess with that. I don't think we've got leadership in the squad. We don't. Watching, he's not the captain, right? But watching Connor Barron run about, making tackles, getting back up, fighting for the ball. I'm not saying he's a captain, but we lack even a lot of that over the park. Like leadership in the style that you play, like dragging your team through a game. I don't see any of that in the team at all. So I think it'd be a bit of a weird one if we start the season and Tav is the captain. But if Tav isn't Celt, I'd strip him off it. I'm not too sure if I'm keen on that unless there is a Barry Ferguson waiting to come and take it.
Kerr, we spoke about this briefly during the week, but what is your take on it? Because as GD says, Chris Jack is not an unreliable source and he has major contacts at the club. For him to break that story and then it to all go very quiet, are we just giving Tav minutes against Birmingham to keep up his fitness because he's maybe in the background going out the door? Or has it just been a smoke screen and perhaps Chris Jack's been fed the wrong information? I just don't see how James Tavernier can survive one more season as captain. And if he does survive a season as captain, if he doesn't win it, then what does that do to his legacy?
I don't think you can blame Tavernier for every failure at Rangers since he's been there. But I do agree with the captaincy has to come off him. I think it should go to Jack Butland myself. I think he's the only person in the squad you can really give it to at the moment. I don't think there's anybody else there because he's experienced. He's 30, but he's playing in England. He's played by international football. I think you have to give it to Jack Butland at the moment. Listen, Balogun, I don't think will be a starter unless you don't sign anybody. I think it might then. But I don't really see giving it to anybody else. Listen, he could be the club captain, but you could give someone else a captaincy in the pitch. I mean, remember when Ferguson came back, you never get Aaron Band back for Fernando Rickson for a while until the end of the season and two lifted the trophy. So I do think Tav will go. I do think he has agreed terms with somebody. I do think he will leave. I think the other night was just he's still unemployed by the club, so they can't play him. Do you know what I mean? So because he's been in talks with teams until he signed with somebody, he's still getting paid. So if the manager wants to play him for half a football, then that's him entitled to it. And Tav maybe wants to play. He's no shot at dummy and says, well, I'm away, I'm not going to play. He's played, so give him credit there. Whereas others will say, well, I'm on the transfer list or you went rid of me, I'm not playing. Tav's not done that, so give him a bit of credit for that. So, but I do think he will leave, and I do think Butland will be the captain coming in the start of the season.
Ricky Wolfenstein in the chat makes the point, why no move Tav into midfield? But I think it's too far gone for that. And I think when prime James Tavernier was in his game, his best attribute was running for deep, picking up the ball and hitting it first time. James Tavernier's never been a player to carry the ball. It's no part of his game. His distribution, 5-10 yard passes inside, have never been part of his locker. So I don't ever see him as a midfield player. He's got a decent enough strike on him and he's had at times a decent enough cross. But I just don't see much of a future left in Tavernier at Rangers. What's your take on it?
Yeah, no, most of his assists came from right back and arriving from the right back position, swinging in a fantastic ball for the strikers to meet. I don't think Tav will still be here, and I think Butland will be the captain next season for sure. I think Tav knows that he's not going to be here, and it just depends. With his stats, you're always going to get interested in James Tavernier because football clubs are stat staff now, so I don't think we'll have a problem moving on Tavernier. Clement's never going to move him to midfield at 33 years old. It's just never going to happen, you know. So I think Tav will be moved on. I think Butland will be the captain. There's a new rule this season about the only person who's allowed to speak to the ref is the captain. So, but I think if you're a goalkeeper, I'm sure in the European Championship you can dedicate a player from outfield, so he takes that role because obviously the goalkeeper's not going to be running all over the pitch to speak to the ref during the match. But so I think it will be Butland, and I think Tav will be moved on. And he's been a great servant and everything like that. What you can say about Tav is that he never ever misses a match. The guy is made of absolute metal for all his mistakes and always giving the ball away and always howlers. Him and Goldson, the consistency with the performances, Goldson reaching 300 so quick, and Tav also is testimonial year. But I don't think he'll be here start of the season, to be honest. I think he'll be away for sure.
Now, this is something that I wanted to touch on that William raises in the chat. And I don't know if you have seen Sky Sports News today or any media outlets, but your man, Willie Collum, is obviously the head of SFA refereeing. I have to admit, I was very shocked by that appointment, and he retired early. I think his performances as a referee last year, as you've seen, were vastly on the decline. I would rather that the SFA had turned and looked to outsource the applicant for this post. It's a major worry for me, Kerr, and a major concern, because we as a club singled him out last season as a bone of contention. Now, I don't care what anybody says. People carry grudges and they might not hold them publicly, but everybody holds them privately. And for us to single Willie Collum out, it's not the first time that we've done it publicly. For him to be the head of referees at the SFA, I don't see how we manage that relationship at all. I think it's a very strange appointment, and one that I'll be looking forward this season to see how that develops.
I never seen the news today, Davey, about the change of the handball rules, so you'll have to enlighten me what it was. But it was always a strange appointment, but you'd seen it was always going to come from the inside, because it's just, they're going to appoint people they know, people they can trust. They're not going to appoint somebody for England or elsewhere because they don't know them. They want people there they know, so they can still get in the way of working like they do at the SFA, like the referees. Listen, the referees in Scotland, I'm not going to sit here and say they're all corrupt, because they aren't. I just think they're all poor. I'm not saying there's a good referee. Listen, it's a very hard job. I want to do it because it is hard. Because if you make a decision, half the stadium agreed with you and half the stadium don't. So it's a very difficult job. And I don't think VAR's helped them either. I think they sometimes use that to try and help them. I think it makes it worse. So I'm not going to sit here and say refs are bad or good. I just think they're not good enough for what we want. But it's a very difficult job. But I don't know a new ball rule. You'd have to enlighten me what it is, David. But Willie Collum.
It's more an interpretation, Kerr. So, see the handball rule last year, anywhere that hurt you on the t-shirt line, the referees are going to more look at in-game scenarios. So, if your arm is outstretched, is it really naturally outstretched because that's the natural movement, or because you're actually sticking it out there? So, they'll try and almost referee the game as if you're playing the game. But the problem is the referees haven't played the game, and nothing's set in stone, and it's all down to individual interpretation. And if you look at it, Willie Collum's retired, and another referee who wasn't very good, in my opinion, David Monroe, has suddenly retired during the summer as well. So that's us without two top flight referees from last season. So two guys are going to get promoted into the big leagues from the lower leagues and shunted up. And for me, that's a worry, JD, because we don't seem to have a good crop of referees. Nobody's refereed at a major tournament since Craig Thompson retired, and that is absolutely shocking.
To touch on the Willie Collum thing, I'm sure it wasn't Graham Poll, right? But I'm sure somebody of his ilk for down south.
John Moss.
Yes. So there's a professional full-time referee for 20 years applied for that role. How Willie Collum got that over him, I'll never know. Because when it comes down to CVs, there's only one man for the job. So that was a bit strange. But I just agree with Kerr on that. We will need to replace him. But by the way, I know folk will disagree, but I thought Bobby Madden was a good ref. We lost him. He went down south. And that's what's probably going to happen. Our good refs will come and go down south now. It might be one every 5 years, because that's how poor they probably are. It's a tough gig, but to be honest, for me, I don't really take much today or much. The refs, for me, they're all pretty poor. They get a lot of stuff wrong. They get stuff wrong for both sides of the old firm. Both sides of the old firm will scream it's biased, it's corrupt, it's against us, when I just think it comes down to capability, really.
Ricky, if we think about it, I also think it's not just the referees, but it's from a broadcasting standpoint as well. If you look at the Premier League down south, they've got every angle covered. If you look at Scottish games, and I remember it was two teams not involving us, it was actually Motherwell and Celtic, but the offside lines were drew from a camera angle in the opposite half where the offside took place. And that's an embarrassment for a professional football league. Now, he spoke today about he hopes that automated offsides come in, but I think we have to do more. We've got club TV involved at every club along the level. Why do we not combine the club TV cameras, with the broadcast cameras of Sky and BBC or Premier Sports, whoever's covering the game, so that we've got, at least two cameras at each side, and you're guaranteed to have every angle covered? Because I think there's still contentious issues come into play where offsides and inside the box, outside the box become contentious issues. And I think, there was a penalty incident involving us in the cup final, which was, we weren't sure if it was inside or outside the box. It looked outside the box, but you couldn't for 100% call that. And I think that's the problem. We need to be able to 100% call that going forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The VAR we're using is totally substandard. You saw how well it was used during the Euros. The automated offsides were fantastic, Still, you had people arguing that some decisions were not offside, even though it's supposed to be 100% foolproof, So hopefully that'll be coming in soon. But the refs have to be better. I know we're saying that two refs have retired, but can the two refs that come in really be worse than Willie Collum and David Monroe? To be honest, I doubt it, because some of the game, the problem is a good ref is a ref you never see during the 90 minutes, And some of our games you watch and sometimes you'll even win 4-0 and fans are still complaining about the ref because they still manage to ruin the game with some of their crazy decisions, And also I'd like to see some of the tough tackles. We need to get a lot harder than that in Scotland, because we lost a lot of players last season. Young McCausland, Danilo was out from a bad challenge at Tynecastle. The rest have to get a lot harder on tackles that were outlawed in other leagues 10 years ago. That needs to be sorted out as well. But hopefully the refs have a better season. Hopefully VAR is better and fans get a little bit more used to it. And in a few years, hopefully we'll see these automated offsides as well.
Well, we're about to round things off in the last 10 minutes of the podcast, and we'll just look at pre-season as a whole so far. Disappointing rather would be an understatement, Kerr, if you think about it. 3 back-to-back defeats in the televised games. We've looked very powder puff. We've lacked any sort of intensity. So we travel to Union Berlin tomorrow, 4:00 kickoff. I believe it's live on Rangers TV. So what is it that you're looking for from us? Do you think the starting 11 will be as close to the starting 11 we'll see at Tynecastle? And do you think that we need to see an improved performance from everyone and something for us to cling on to, or do you see this rut continuing?
Probably a bit of both, Dave. I think the starting lineup will be quite close to next week. I don't think it'll be exactly the same. I think it'll be quite close. I just want to see us playing some decent football, passing the ball more than twice to each other, moving it forward, players moving, passing and moving, see a pattern of play, see a shape, see a structure, and getting the press right. I mean, we're especially off the ball, because off the ball, teams can go through us with a diagonal, with a long ball, even just somebody running in a straight line. We don't cover it, so I just want to see a bit of fight. We don't look sharp. When Clement first came in and spoke about that pre-season must have been poor because the players don't look fit, don't look sharp. We don't look fit and sharp at this moment in time. So what have we been doing in these training camps? So I want to see a bit of fight. The results don't matter for me. They don't, personally, It's just about how we're playing. If I can see us playing the more a wee bit of style, you can think, a couple of good moves here, a wee bit of fight, or just a shape. Something you can actually say, well, we've got a shape, we've got a structure, we look like we can do stuff, and some movement, because the last few games, that's not been there. It's not been there at all.
JD, what's your take on it? Because Kerr makes a great point there in terms of lack of structure, in terms of how we're playing. But as we said earlier in the podcast, none of us can really hazard a guess at what the starting lineup may be, whether he's going to, go Sterling, Suter, Davies and Yilmaz as his back four. I can't see Balogun playing tomorrow after he played 90 minutes during the week. So I really can't guess the team. And I think with a week to go before the season starts, that's the most worrying aspect for me as a Rangers fan.
Aye. See, for me, firstly, I'm not a big fan of friendlies being on the telly. I've said this for years. I just don't like it. It gets us all worked up, or it gets us ahead of ourselves. We beat Real Madrid and, we thought we were the best. All cares, right? Just let the result take care of itself. It's more about the performance, but from a starting lineup perspective, mate, I don't know. Like, I think the game tomorrow will be as close, perhaps. Listen, he might have Balogun thinking about starting and then playing him and maybe bringing him on for 10 minutes tomorrow. I mean, if we're sitting here right now and we've not got Goldson, I would play Balogun. If Suter's fit, I would play Suter and Balogun. I think that is your two. I don't think Davies would come in. Does Tav even? I don't know. I literally don't know what the team's going to be. I seen someone mention Enciala will get more game time. I think he will. I don't think that boy's ready to play for what I've seen. But again, you're watching one friendly and you're judging the poor guy on one recap, like one starting. It's no fair. It's no fair, and that's where I just can't. I watch them all right, but I don't. I always say to myself, don't watch them. But so I don't know. Is your answer? Terrible answer.
Ricky, if we think about it in terms of it is a last pre-season game, you don't want to begin into the season having 4 defeats. As much as winning becomes a habit, losing becomes a habit. And we have Hearts away at Tynecastle on the Saturday, followed by what looks likely to be a Champions League tie away to Dynamo Kiev in Poland. Now, if we're looking at it, we can't go into those games with the squad as it is, because if we do, we're probably in big trouble.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Fans just want to see something tomorrow, We want to see patterns of play, create some chances, defence look a bit stronger. It'll be interesting to see who plays right back tomorrow, that's for sure. Like a lot of people said, Tab was a little bit struggling for form and struggling for fitness the other night, so it looks like Sterling's going to play, but that'll be interesting. Yilmaz, I think, will start at left back. I think it'll be Balogun and Sterling will start tomorrow. I don't think he'll throw the young lad in at Tynecastle in defence. Absolutely no chance. Barron and Diamande will start in midfield. Who's going to start number 10? Probably Lawrence. And then you're probably looking at Cortez. Hopefully he needs to get more minutes because we need to get him up to speed. He's struggling for fitness as well. The Nigerian Nightmare will be up front again, number 9, and then probably on the right, I think he'll play McCausland. I don't think he'll throw Czerny straight in tomorrow ever when he's only met the guys he probably travelled to Germany, but he's probably only met the guys maybe 1 or 2 days, so I don't think he'll throw him in. I think he'll come in the second half, but hopefully we see a good performance. August was always going to be a hard month, guys. You look at the fixtures. We've got Hearts away, we've got Celtic away, we've got we're not even playing at Ibrox with that absolute beat show that's going on with Ibrox. So August, we just need to get through August as best we can and try and stay in touch with them. And then hopefully by the time September the 1st comes, the team looks a lot better and the squad is a lot more settled. So hopefully a good performance tomorrow and give us a little bit of hope and something a little bit promising for the season to start.
Not to cause any alarm, I've just seen somebody post on Twitter a picture of Butland. Aye.
Yeah. His legs strapped up.
What was that? Sorry, JD?
There's a picture on Twitter of Butland getting on the flight to Germany, his knees all strapped up.
Well, see, it never rains but it pours when you're a Rangers fan, it seems. Obviously, I don't think Liam Kelly has done himself any harm in pre-season, but in terms of distribution, I think something that he needs to get out of his game for what we saw in the Birmingham is he's used to playing Route 1 football with Motherwell, and he has to show a bit more composure and playing it out for the back. I'm not saying that he doesn't have it in his locker, but he's maybe just been that used to playing for provincial clubs that they step up to Rangers. There's a change in what you need to do. Yeah. If Butland's injured, that is a worry.
If Butland was injured, Davey, but would we want to play to Germany? We not left him here.
I know.
He was
Well, that's the
walking.
thing. But then, would
He
you
was
travel
walking.
with the doctors and the physios so that
You want to sit in a plane but with your knee, if your knee's fucked for fucking, you want to be in the house resting or somewhere, you know what I mean?
It's a baby. It's a tuba grip he's got on his knee, so it's all fine. You calm down. It's only a tuba grip.
Right. We need to sell that cryo chamber and buy a striker with the money.
Well, it does seem to be that the cryo chamber has not been
Broken.
getting. Well, it seems to be because everybody that we've put in it seems to come out worse for when they went in it. It's the one thing Clement mentioned when he came in, that the cryo chamber wasn't getting used. But our injury record is absolutely. I was a bit like Donald Trump there with my horns. I don't know what was going on there. I just can round it around up. But I'd just like to say before we go, lads, it's been a pleasure tonight. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Hopefully we get a positive result tomorrow, but it's a big thank you to Mr. Scott Kerr, JD and Ricky Forbes for joining us tonight. I hope you all enjoyed watching at home. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about us, and we'll see you again next week. So it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from them. Good night.